All right, so another short one coming at you here. We're talking about phenotypic plasticity. So how genes change depending on not only their genotype, but the environment. And that's really kind of some stuff we already know, and then probably stuff you've at least heard of or maybe heard of in other classes we haven't talked about yet. So we know that we have genotypes, right, our genetic makeup. So maybe I am heterozygous for a certain trait. That would be my genotype. Then my phenotype is the actual physical trait, right? So do I have brown hair? Do I have blonde hair? Do I have brown eyes, blue eyes? So on. So those physical traits are my phenotype. And we obviously know that the genes affect the phenotype, right? I have to have the genetics to show a certain trait. But we also have this idea that my environment could affect the expression of those genes. So it could affect my phenotype. So this kind of gets into that classic nature versus nurture argument, right? So I have nature, right, my genes, but then I also have that nurture, that external environment that's going to affect how those are actually expressed. And I have a picture right here that seems kind of random, but these guys are identical twins. Mike and Scott Kelly are their names. And a big study, twin studies are really big for nature versus nurture, right? Because they should have the same DNA. And what they actually did is one twin spent a significant amount of time in space. This was a study done by NASA. And they found that I think about 7% of his genes were expressed differently, and they think that's because of the different amounts of oxygen levels that he was exposed to in his time in space. So his environment actually did change the way his genes were expressed. So they are identical twins, but they don't look identical because his environment changed that. So it's kind of a twin study. And that's where this term plasticity comes in. So the adaptability of an organism to changes in its environment or differences between various habitats is the fancy definition, the technical definition. Really what this word refers to is that gene expression can change to allow for adaptation. Right, our genes are expressed differently in different environments, really to be more efficient, right? We need to adapt to our environment. Some examples that might make this make a little bit more sense are the effect of increased UV on melanin production in animals. So the closer we are to the equator, the more UV light, right, the more sun essentially we get. So our skin cells have more melanin in them. Another one would be seasonal fur color in mammals. So some mammals might show different fur colors to blend in with their environment, right? If there's snow, so the fur will become lighter. And then height and weight in humans. So it all depends on the environment, right? So our genes do kind of have an idea of height and weight and where we should be at based off of those genes that we got from our parents. But that also has a lot to do with the environment that we're in. And that is genetic plasticity.